Breaking right now, another disastrous 24 hours for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. First, Newsweek has become the latest US publication to turn on the Duchess of Sussex with a headline saying that the Meghan Markle bullying saga is, quote, the smoking crater on her reputation. Now, remember, Newsweek has been a publication that has been a fawning propagandist for Meghan for some time. Then Prince Harry exposed in New York for working with the tabloids that he claims to hate, and then criticized for making a completely bizarre appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. What makes no sense about this to me is that no one actually knows what he was promoting other than Jimmy Fallon's Halloween exhibition in New York City, a big NBC Universal enterprise. So was Prince Harry being paid for this? Was this just a paid gig? Is he now just a celebrity that you can throw money at to promote our new ride? Utterly, utterly bizarre. It was also incredibly unbecoming, too. Let's take a look at the appearance. And then the man who remains in the line of succession decided that it would make sense to swear and show off during this US TV promotion with Jimmy Fallon. How old is this guy? How old is he? 40. Is he ever going to grow up? According to Taz, posted on X, all week, Harry tried to appear as someone with global influence, someone to be taken seriously on a world platform, mixing with foreign dignitaries, royals and heads of various organizations discussing mental health, the social media crisis, climate change, etc. But then does a celebrity horror house appearance on the Jimmy Fallon show. Harry really needs to pick a lane. Personally, I think he's better at playing a silly celebrity than he is a professional influential leader. The only leading Harry knows how to do involves a collar and a leash that his wife sadly holds. And I am delighted to be joined now stateside by Brittany, who is the editor of the brilliant Royal News Network. And you have been busy this week, Brittany, because what a week it has been for Royal News, especially stateside, because we've got this developing scandal with Meghan Markle and the US media finally turning on her. Then at the same time, Harry making this very odd trip to New York City, where, as according to Taz points out, he was trying to be statesmanlike, but ends with the most embarrassing, unnecessary, pointless appearance with Jimmy Fallon. What was that about, Brittany?
I honestly have no idea. When I was watching it this morning, I was like, but he's not promoting anything.
Yeah.
His Polo documentary isn't supposed to be out until December. And after a week of, you could say, really trying to be the statesman, trying to make and push his agenda or whatever, he all of a sudden goes on Jimmy Fallon and does this bizarre acting impression and swears on TV and all these sorts of things. And I'm like, what was the point of that? It just seemed very, very odd, but in a week full with oddness and obviously very strange stories between Harry and Meghan, for sure.
But he didn't promote anything, did he?
No, he didn't say anything, really.
No, so that's why, and I have no evidence of this, but it does suggest to me that it was a money deal. And if that is the case, it shows you how desperate he is to take the coin, because I just thought that made him look like a little kid. But of course, there is Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to say it is very strange and it could be related to money, of course, which kind of goes to my thing, which I've been talking about on my channel for quite a bit, is that Harry and Meghan seem to want to promote themselves as world leaders and everything, but what they're doing doesn't really make them money. So at the end of the day, this trip, maybe he got some coin for speaking at these various events, but I'm sure some he didn't. And so now he has to go on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon to make a little bit, because the rest of the stuff they're trying to do with charity is not really making them money. It's all very strange what they're trying to do.
It's really strange because, to be honest, even if I saw a big American film star, right, So, I don't know, Chris Hemsworth or Margot Robbie or Angelina Jolie, like an A-lister doing that, I'd still think it was odd. I think, why are you doing that? What's that about? Why are you promoting the Jimmy Fallon Halloween house? But this is a royal. This is the son of the British king. I mean, look, we warned of this. I mean, I warned of this. This was always probably the inevitable outcome of Megxit. But it's incredible how they just seem to be making decisions, Brittany, which are more and more bizarre.
Yes, and we saw this too with Meghan Markle going on Ellen DeGeneres, and she told her to
Yeah.
do all these crazy things, including doing this very inelegant squat on national television. And so Harry is now doing his part, I guess, on Jimmy Fallon. They seem to be, in order to make money at times, willing to make themselves completely the fool. Because you're totally right. A-list stars, they don't really try to, like, they're in on the joke, but they usually don't make themselves the butt of the joke necessarily. They usually don't act like fools. But Harry and Meghan are completely willing to play the court jester in order, it seems, to either make money, promote themselves, what have you. And it's so unbecoming of royalty. I can't really think of any royals, even peripheral in other families, that sort of stoop to this level. There's maybe some on the very edges, and there's some chaos obviously going on in Norway right now. But most of them, even if they're not within the main part of the family, not working royals, they always try to represent sort of this elegant royal
Yeah.
heir. And we have had royals
Because we
who've
have
lived here
enough
in the States and been
celebrities.
completely private. Hmm.
Yeah, totally. We have enough desperate celebrities doing desperate things. But look, I think about who's probably, the biggest young British actor of the moment. Tom Holland, Spider-Man, right? There's no way Tom Holland is doing that. If his people try and get Tom Holland to do that, Tom Holland says, why? I'm not doing that. I don't need to do that. And so why Prince Harry didn't say the same thing, I don't know. We as far as we're aware, there's no friendship with Jimmy Fallon or anything like that. But there was an interesting moment earlier in the day, and this was pointed out by the Royal Grift, Brittany. So I want to take a look at this video, but it's real. I'll just set it up first. So Harry obviously continues his deranged campaign against the tabloid media, specifically in Britain. And there was an interview he gave, which the Royal Grift uses as the audio for some of this video to ITV, talking about why it's absolutely necessary for him to continue his deranged war against the media. Well, in New York, guess who there is footage of him meeting? Reporters for the tabloids, People, Vanity Fair, and Town and Country. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. And Brittany, he sure got the fawning coverage. I mean, it worked. Vanity Fair wrote, Prince Harry's transition from working royal to global advocate is now complete. Really? Town and Country posted, I spent the day with Prince Harry in NYC. Here's what I learned. So look, you could argue that he got what he wanted out of it from a PR perspective, but the hypocrisy is off the scale, is it not?
It definitely is, but Harry and Meghan like to play this game. They love the media, technically, but
Yeah.
it's only when they're printing glowing reports about what they're doing. Like even the reporter who followed them around Colombia, like basically she didn't really provide any other information to the other press. So the BBC even said, well, we can't really go with what you're giving us because it's not anything. Because Harry and Meghan just want to control the narrative so badly. That's what their entire focus is. And so they're more than willing to go to the media if the media is willing to print exactly what they want, which I think is kind of what happened in the case with the Us Weekly article that has come out recently. I think Meghan had extraordinary control over that article. And so they're always willing to go to the media, but they're always very particular about who they work with. And anytime they get burned, they immediately go to like the next person, trying to find the next basically sycophantic journalist who won't ask them a single tough question.
Yeah, indeed. Very, very true. Now, look, I couldn't really work out what Harry achieved from the New York visit. Probably the most headline grabbing moment was when he said that we shouldn't call mental health, we should call it mental fitness, which just feels like absolute woke madness to me. And if you want to turn people off the mental health debate, you're going the right way about it, Harry. And then there was just a lot of word salad a lot of word salad about his usual themes of hope. So, I mean, Brittany, like, in all seriousness, what's he talking about? What does he mean?
I honestly have no idea. He said hope a lot. I think I'd be curious to know how many times he said hope in that little bit. But even I watch royal stuff excessively, but I didn't really even follow much of his New York trip because it's just kind of the same word salad nonsense that Meghan Markle does all the time. There's nothing really of depth to it. There's nothing really actionable. And as well, they have no power because if you are a royal, you are connected to the head of state, you have connections to the government. So you can move the needle on particular issues. That's why actually a lot of royals were in New York this week at various events because Prince Harry met Queen Matilda of the Belgians, who was there. So they are able to actually make big impacts. Harry represents nothing except maybe jam. So I guess he's, shilling jam everywhere. I don't know. But people want somebody to speak. And he does have this, you could say, obviously reputation, and he's more than willing to go out there and just say whatever. And people are like nodding along. Yeah, I listened to part of his pitch about the Parents Network and everything, and there just wasn't even much there. The Parents Network itself, which is supposed to help parents whose children have been impacted by social media, there doesn't even seem to be much to that organization. Everything, Harry and Meghan talk a big game, but when you look at the actual things they're doing, it's just not much. There's just not much there to grasp onto, and that's going to become an increasing problem for them. And it doesn't help when you have this week where you're sort of looking like a statesman, and then you're willing to play the fool with Jimmy Fallon for a 3-minute bit where you don't even promote anything that you had that entire week. He didn't even mention the stuff he's trying to do around mental health, and maybe a haunted house would be a good place to talk about mental health or mental fitness or whatever.
Yeah,
But he didn't do any of that, so it's really
exactly.
pointless.
Totally, that's such a good point. If you're going to do a TV appearance like that, okay, do the fun stuff, but make sure you get your actual message out. But then while Harry was in New York, things back in Montecito are going to be incredibly tense because I feel like all of the dominoes are falling because we've now got another major publication, Brittany, that has been slavishly supportive of Meghan Markle for a long time, changing allegiance. I'm talking about Newsweek, and it's specifically a reporter called Jack Royston, actually, who I used to work with at the Sun newspaper, and he has been a propagandist for Meghan for a very, very long time. Well, Newsweek has now turned with a whole series of articles, actually, over the bullying scandal. Probably the most damning was this one, which ran in the past 24 hours, saying Meghan Markle bullying saga is smoking crater on her reputation. They're quoting Eric Schiffer, the chair of reputation management consultants, who told Newsweek the saga would be damaging to Meghan despite the counter-narrative. Meghan's challenges are immense, he said, because this is now a pattern of behaviour outside of Britain that calls into question a level of horrible incompetence in leadership. She is now seen as the enemy of staffers who are fleeing because of the devastating environment, none of which is good for Meghan when she is still recovering from the reputational damage from across the pond. These are current allegations. What it says is that she's either painfully deluded about her own behaviour, or there's a series of people who are choosing to lie to reporters, which doesn't seem to ring as true. The scandal brush she's facing is not just a smoking crater on her reputation, but now begins to draw into questions her judgment and her ability to control herself and control her behaviour. So, Brittany, you are US based, but there has been something seismic happening over the past week, hasn't there? It's almost like the American media, probably Us Weekly, People Magazine, Town and Country, Vanity Fair aside, but the rest of the US media is catching up with where we have been in the UK for some time.
Yes, I actually did a video about how basically the palace and the British media were right. What they were reporting was good. And I know sometimes there obviously are, you could say, bad actors within the British media, as there is in all media. But when
Of
it comes
course.
to especially the initial allegations from that Valentine Lowe published in the Times, which I've read at least a couple of times, they were very detailed, very good. He's a very reputable reporter. I interviewed him once. He was fantastic. And we see now a series of behavior. I mean, some of the allegations were almost spot on exactly the same. And the thing is, Harry and Meghan can try to deflect all they want, but we see this revolving door of staff. And it just doesn't make sense that all of them are just leaving because they have a new opportunity or something like that. I mean, even in the Us Weekly article, they've admitted that they fired people basically. And so there is obviously a pattern here and a very serious one. And I think the most damaging allegations, especially in the Hollywood Reporter, which is one again that we can see publicly, is that talking about basically their incompetence. They can't make good decisions. Meghan cannot take advice. And we see this play out within their time in Hollywood. They can't get out content. They've lost the Spotify deal. Netflix seems to be out the door. American Riviera Orchard is a disaster. And so everybody is seeing this in the industry and they're all well aware of the problems that they're having. And I think that initial report kind of confirmed everything. And despite what Meghan's trying to do to kind of wiggle her way out of it, there's obviously a consistent pattern of behavior. And even if, let's say, some of the staffers talk to the Hollywood Reporter, I wouldn't be surprised if some actually talk to all three major publications here in this case that were sharing some behind the scenes things to the Hollywood Reporter and saying some nice things to Us Weekly, and then maybe going to the Daily Beast and sharing more. Like all of this, I think they've clearly are having issues with staff, with business, and that is just almost impossible to ignore.
And Megan's disappeared this week. So she didn't turn up to the big Kevin Costner charity event. That was literally in the hours after Hollywood Reporter had destroyed her reputation, described her as a dictator in high heels. So she didn't show up. And then we haven't seen her at all this week. Now, there's been the usual PR'd material saying, oh, Harry's FaceTiming Meghan all the time, apparently from New York. But is it significant that Meghan has gone to ground? And do we know when we're expecting to see her?
We don't. And I know at least when it comes to especially Montecito, it's complete surprise we actually haven't gotten any pictures of her. Because usually when Harry's out of town getting his two bits, she wants to do and usually does a
Yes.
paparazzi stroll. Because if you've never been to California, the traffic is horrendous. And to get to Montecito, most paparazzi guys are not going to make that trip unless they're pretty guaranteed to have a star available to photograph. So I've always been of the opinion usually Meghan calls them in their very specific situation she wants to set up. So it's really bizarre that we haven't seen her, but I think she knew obviously the Hollywood Reporter definitely damaged her reputation. And I don't think she was sick when she didn't go to the Kevin Costner event. I think she was didn't want to be asked questions, was really, really embarrassed. And then you have obviously she knew the Us Weekly piece was coming out because I cannot imagine that she didn't have her hands all over that thing. But then the Daily Beast. And so everything's kind of gotten really damaged. And obviously they have some things coming out, but I mean, American Riviera Orchard, she announced that 6 months ago now, like over 6.5 months ago. And there's no movement on that and nothing connected with it probably will come out until her TV show comes out. But if she can't secure the trademarks, then when will that come out? No idea, because I would imagine some of the products she's using on that show she's intending to sell. But the problem too is if the trademarks don't go through or she has issues with that and the product has to be changed again, then she's kind of wrecked her own show and kind of the cross promotion in a
Mm.
way. And she's supposed to be doing podcasts. She can't seem to do that. So, I mean, I don't know. Everything's definitely not coming up roses for Meghan. And it just seems to be an epic disaster, a flop after flop, train wreck after train wreck for them. And it goes along with, again, with the Hollywood Reporter. They can't make decisions. They can't make the right decisions and they don't take advice. And that's just obviously plain for everyone to see.
And Richard Eden of the Daily Mail reporting overnight that he is expecting Harry and Meghan to continue with separate careers. There's effectively been a separation professionally. And as far as I'm aware, I don't know if you know anything that I don't, but Brittany, but there isn't any project announced at this point involving both of them. Obviously, there was the Columbia tour, and we're told that they will travel together in the future, but there's certainly no other project where they're on screen together planned at this point. So do you believe this Richard Eden report that there's been a professional separation?
I do. I think we've seen this for a little bit. And there was a Us Weekly report that came out I want to say maybe a month ago, before this whole one kind of defending Meghan, talking about how she was doing things on her own terms. And so they're starting to set up a bit of this separation, going their separate ways. And I believe it was Richard Eden or somebody else talking about how they tried to make it initially as a power couple, and that didn't quite work. And so now they're trying their individual things. But the reason it never worked for them as a power couple is because they didn't really work. They didn't really actually come up with anything together. They sort of do these pseudo royal tours, which are mostly pointless. I mean, what can they bring to the Colombian government, the Nigerian government, whatever other country they're going to go to? They can't give them much. And so it's a very strange the pathway they're going down. And so they try to show up this loved image, but it's not totally working. And then again, you have just the problem of they need to actually work and create content. That is what they're being paid to do. Their charity is something they can do on top of what they're already doing, but they're paid to promote content. And if I was Netflix and I was watching Harry and Meghan gallivant around Colombia and I'm not getting any of this coverage, they're not going to give me anything from this trip, I'm wondering, well, what are you doing? Because all I see them doing, and all they've basically admitted to doing in Us Weekly, is wasting time having pointless meeting after meeting after meeting, where they get maybe some amazing lunch spreads, but very little gets accomplished. And then again, we see this all playing out. And so Harry and Meghan, regardless of whether they're together or apart, they need to actually work and actually have real jobs. And then they can also do their charity things together, I guess. But the charity definitely is not going to make them the money they wish, because they're very much living the billionaire's lifestyle on a millionaire salary. And at some point, the money is going to start to run out because they need these huge deals to continue to go forwards. And if they can't maintain these, then what do they do for money? I don't know.
They care about one charity, themselves. That's one thing I've learned about Harry and Meghan. Mm-hmm. And Brittany, finally, I have to ask you the royal question of the month. So we'll look at these pictures of Prince William in Scotland. The beard, are you for it or are you against it?
Oh, I have mixed feelings, because there's a part of me that loves he's doing something different. We actually have a lot of kings throughout Europe that are sporting a beard right now. King Felipe and obviously Spain, and then King Philip in Belgium, and then King Frederick of Denmark, and Crown Prince Haakon of Norway. So it's very much on trend. But at the same time, too, I'm not sure if I'm totally loving it yet. Maybe it needs to grow in a bit more. Maybe it's just a change and just takes a little bit of time to get used to. But I'm not sure if I'm loving it yet. But I admire him for doing something different. That's always great to see. So yeah, I'm on the fence about the beard. Okay, so give me maybe another month.
This is the only thing today I'm going to disagree with you on, Brittany, because I love it. I think it's brilliant. And I know that he loves a beard. And weirdly, since he's had the beard, he seems lots happier. He seems more comfortable. Now, I know there's other things going on. Probably a big part of it is the fact that his wife is out of chemotherapy. So I'm not putting too much on the beard. But I think it's really lovely to see. It was, of course, the late Queen Elizabeth II who said absolutely not to the beard. So he is defying the late Queen in some ways. But personally, I like it. But thank you so much. Brittany, I love your work. You're absolutely amazing. But can you explain to everyone, because as you say, you report not just on the royals in America and the UK, but throughout the world. So where can people find the Royal News Network?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, obviously Royal News Network. I also have a channel devoted to royal fashion news, if that is of your fancy as well. We kind of do tiara videos and fashion videos, best and worst lists and everything. Then I'm also on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, all under Royal News Network, TikTok as well. So I just enjoy following other royals. So we try to do a lot with the European royals as well. And so there's very interesting stories going on in Norway. So if you guys are interested in that, I do have a Crown Report, which I do every week, kind of going over a lot of the other European royal news, including that emerging story as well.
The first major story centers on Meghan Markle. Newsweek, a publication that has often covered the Sussexes extensively, published an article suggesting that the workplace bullying controversy continues to cast a long shadow over Meghan's public image. The article argues that the allegations, regardless of differing opinions surrounding them, remain one of the most significant challenges facing her reputation. While the claims themselves remain disputed, the fact that major media outlets continue revisiting the issue demonstrates that the conversation has not completely disappeared from public discussion. For Meghan, whose brand increasingly depends upon trust, authenticity, and public goodwill, continued attention to older controversies presents an ongoing communications challenge. Meanwhile, Prince Harry surprised many observers by appearing on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Rather than participating in a traditional interview, Harry took part in a light-hearted segment that included a haunted house attraction and humorous reactions. The appearance immediately sparked debate because many viewers struggled to understand its purpose. Unlike celebrity guests who typically use late-night television to promote an upcoming film, book, or television series, Harry did not announce any new project during the appearance. That left commentators wondering whether the visit was intended purely for entertainment, part of a broader promotional strategy, or connected to other professional arrangements. Regardless of the reason, the segment generated significant discussion online. Another issue raised during the New York trip concerns Harry's complicated relationship with the media. For years, Harry has publicly criticized parts of the British tabloid press and has pursued several legal cases involving newspaper publishers. However, during his visit to New York, Harry also met with journalists from several well-known lifestyle and entertainment publications. Some observers argued that this illustrates a distinction Harry has often made himself, that his criticism is directed toward specific practices rather than journalism as a whole. Others viewed the situation differently, questioning whether selectively engaging with favorable media outlets while criticizing others creates an inconsistent public message. Either way, the discussion once again placed Harry's media strategy under the spotlight. Whether one views Harry's television appearance as harmless entertainment or an unnecessary distraction, it clearly generated widespread discussion. Similarly, renewed attention surrounding Meghan's public reputation demonstrates that earlier controversies continue to influence media narratives. For the Sussexes, whose careers now rely heavily upon public engagement, maintaining credibility while navigating entertainment, advocacy, and commercial partnerships remains a delicate balancing act. The coming months, with additional media projects expected, will likely reveal whether their current strategy strengthens their public standing or invites even greater scrutiny. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle remain among the most closely watched public figures in the world, and every decision they make continues to generate headlines. As new projects unfold and public appearances continue, the debate over their evolving roles, public image, and future direction is unlikely to fade anytime soon. What do you think? Did Prince Harry's appearance on The Tonight Show help humanize him, or did it undermine the serious causes he often champions? And do you believe Meghan Markle can successfully move beyond the controversies that continue to resurface? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news and commentary.